Have you ever noticed how, in today's world, the loudest people often get the most attention, but not always the most respect? We see people shouting on social media, fighting to be noticed, chasing likes and followers. Yet, every once in a while, someone appears who doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to chase, and somehow everyone listens. This is the power of the monk who walks alone but commands the crowd. His strength doesn't come from how many people follow him, but from how deeply he has learned to walk his own path. In a noisy world, he becomes a rare silence. In a world of masks, he becomes authenticity. And that is why people can't ignore him. The monk walks alone because he is not afraid of silence, solitude, or being misunderstood. In today's world, most people feel uncomfortable when they are alone. They constantly need noise, company, or approval to feel secure. But true power does not come from how many people surround you. It comes from the strength you build in private when no one is watching. It is in those quiet moments of self-reflection, discipline, and inner struggle that real character is formed. The monk's calm presence is proof that he has faced his fears, conquered his doubts, and made peace with himself. That is why, even without raising his voice, people feel his energy and respect him. When you can stand alone without fear, you carry a strength that no crowd can ever give you. And that is the kind of strength the world cannot ignore. In life, many people try to lead by force, raising their voices, showing authority, or demanding respect. But the monk shows us that real leadership is not about controlling others. It is about controlling yourself. In Buddhism, the greatest victory is not defeating enemies outside, but conquering the restless mind within. The monk has faced anger, temptation, pride, and fear, and he has learned to master them. That mastery radiates in the way he walks, speaks, and even stays silent. People feel his discipline without him ever saying a word. Think about it in today's world. We often follow people who appear strong on the outside, but if they lack inner control, their leadership quickly collapses. The monk doesn't chase followers, yet people are drawn to him because he represents something rare: self-mastery. And when someone has mastered their own mind, others naturally want to learn from them. True leadership, then, is not something you demand. It is something you become. The monk does not crave applause, attention, or recognition, and that is exactly why people are drawn to him. In our world today, most people spend their lives chasing approval, seeking likes on social media, wanting validation from friends, or trying to prove themselves to strangers. But the more you chase, the more desperate you appear, and the less respect you actually gain. The monk understands this truth deeply. When you no longer chase the crowd chases you. Detachment does not mean you stop caring about people. It means you no longer depend on them for your worth. The monk walks his own path, guided by inner clarity, rather than the shifting opinions of others. This freedom gives him an aura of strength, because nothing can control him. People notice someone who does not need to beg for attention, who does not bend under pressure to fit in. That kind of person becomes magnetic. In Buddhism, detachment is not about rejecting the world, but seeing it clearly without clinging. When you are no longer tied down by the need for approval, you move through life with confidence and peace. And the paradox is, the moment you stop trying to impress, you inspire. The monk commands the crowd not by needing them, but by walking so fearlessly in his truth that they cannot look away. Silence is not emptiness. It is the highest form of presence. The monk walks alone, yet when he enters a place, the air itself changes. He does not need to announce himself. He does not need to demand attention. His silence commands it. Why? Because silence carries what noise cannot: depth, clarity, and truth. In our world today, most people fear silence. They fill every gap with endless talking, constant scrolling, and meaningless noise. But noise never creates respect. It only drowns out wisdom. the monk shows us that silence is not weakness, but strength. It is the power to restrain when the ego wants to react, to pause when anger wants to explode, to remain calm when chaos pushes you to break. This is why silence has a force stronger than argument. In Buddhism, silence is not avoidance, it is mastery. It is choosing to hold back words until they carry weight, instead of letting them scatter like leaves in the wind. The monk understands that every unnecessary word weakens truth, while every moment of silence strengthens it. And when he does speak, his voice cuts through the crowd, because people have already learned from the discipline of his silence that his words will not be wasted. Think about the world we live in now. People argue endlessly on social media, fighting for the last word, desperate to prove themselves right. But no one truly listens, because everyone is too busy talking. Their voices blur into noise. Yet, when a person who rarely speaks finally says something, the whole room stops. That is the difference between noise and presence. Silence gives words their power. Without it, speech is empty. The monk's silence is not cold or distant. It is alive. It carries compassion, patience, and wisdom. It teaches that not every attack deserves a response. Not every insult requires defense, and not every truth must be spoken at once. Silence is the shield of the wise, the path of the disciplined, and the language of the awakened. In silence, you discover yourself. In silence, you master your emotions. In silence, you find the strength that cannot be shaken by the world. And this is why silence commands crowds. When the monk speaks, people lean closer, not because his voice is louder, but because his silence has already prepared them to listen. His words do not echo through noise, they land in stillness. That stillness is his power. That is why silence, above all else, speaks the loudest. Discipline is the hidden thread that holds a life together, the quiet force that shapes a person long before the world notices them. The monk who walks alone does not command respect because of grand speeches or outward displays of strength. He commands it because his life is built on unwavering discipline. Every day begins before the rest of the world stirs. He rises not because he feels like it, but because he has trained his body and mind to obey purpose rather than mood. He sits in meditation while the world still dreams, facing his own thoughts, his own fears, his own restless mind, until they no longer control him. He eats simply, not out of scarcity, but because he refuses to become a prisoner of endless desire. He works, prays, and studies with balance, without indulgence or laziness. This discipline seeps into every fiber of his being, creating a presence that others cannot ignore. It is not loud, yet it speaks louder than noise. It is not showy, yet it shines brighter than gold. People often mistake authority for position or title, but true authority is not given by others. It is carved from within. A person who lives without discipline may rise for a time, but their influence collapses the moment pressure comes. The monk is different. His authority is not based on chance or fortune, but on the slow, patient building of habits that no storm can break. When he speaks, people listen, not because he insists on being heard, but because his life has already proven the weight of his words. His discipline has made him reliable, steady, and unshakable. And in a world where most people waver, the one who stands firm naturally becomes a leader. Authority flows to those who cannot be bent by weakness, and discipline is the fire that hardens them into that strength. In today's world, most people live under the illusion that success is built on talent, luck, or inspiration. They wait for motivation, for the perfect moment, for the right conditions to move. But the truth is, motivation is fleeting. It burns brightly for a moment and disappears like smoke. Discipline, on the other hand, does not depend on mood. Discipline acts when the body is tired, when the mind resists, when excuses seem stronger than reason. It does not wait for the right time. It creates it. This is why the monk never needs to force authority. His very existence radiates it. People recognize that he does not live by chance but by choice, not by comfort, but by principle. His authority is not about controlling others. It is about showing them what it looks like to control oneself completely. The authority born from discipline is deeper than power. It is trust. People may fear raw power, but they respect discipline because discipline represents consistency, reliability, and truth. The monk does not waver with every passing wind. He is steady, like a mountain unmoved by storms. That steadiness inspires confidence in others because they see in him what they cannot yet master in themselves. And this is why discipline builds not only authority, but also legacy. Titles fade, wealth disappears, fame is forgotten, but the authority of a disciplined life leaves a mark that endures across time. There is a kind of strength that cannot be faked, the strength of needing nothing. The monk commands the crowd not because he begs for their recognition, not because he craves their applause, but because he is whole within himself. He does not measure his worth by how many follow him, how many praise him, or how loudly they cheer. His life is not chained to the shifting moods of people. He could be walking alone in silence or standing before thousands. It makes no difference to him because his peace does not depend on them. And this is precisely why they respect him. People instinctively bow to those who are free because freedom is the one thing everyone desires, yet few have the courage to cultivate. In today's world, most people live enslaved by the opinions of others. They spend hours trying to look good in front of strangers, reshaping themselves to fit expectations, fearing rejection more than dishonor, craving approval more than truth. They become puppets pulled by invisible strings, likes, comments, applause, attention. But the monk has cut every string. He is not controlled by admiration, nor destroyed by criticism. When the world praises him, he remains the same. When the world rejects him, he remains the same. This unshakable independence is the reason the crowd turns its eyes toward him. Ironically, the less he needs them, the more they are drawn to him. The one who refuses to be a servant of approval becomes a master of respect. Detachment does not mean coldness. It means clarity. The monk still loves, still serves, still gives, but he does not give to be noticed. He gives because giving is his nature. He does not serve to be admired. He serves because compassion flows from him naturally. This difference is everything. The crowd senses authenticity, and authenticity is magnetic. People are weary of masks, weary of pretenders, weary of those who do good only for recognition. When they encounter someone who has no hidden agenda, who does not need their approval, who does not chase their attention, they cannot help but follow. Respect is born not from chasing others, but from being so complete within yourself that others are moved by your wholeness. In Buddhism, this truth is called non-attachment, the freedom from clinging, whether to possessions, people, or status. The monk is respected because he is not bound by chains that bind the rest of the world. He is not enslaved by wealth, so wealth has no power over him. He is not enslaved by reputation, so reputation cannot corrupt him. He is not enslaved by relationships, so he can love purely without fear of loss. His detachment gives him a strength that makes people trust him, for they know he cannot be bought, bribed, or manipulated. They see in him a kind of strength that is rare, a man who truly belongs to himself. The paradox of life is this: the more you chase recognition, the further it runs. The more you need people to notice you, the less they value you. But the moment you no longer need it, it arrives on its own. The monk embodies this paradox. He does not seek the crowd, yet the crowd gathers. He does not force respect, yet respect is given freely. He does not beg for loyalty, yet loyalty follows him. This is because the human heart is drawn to those who are unshakably free. We trust those who need nothing from us because we know their words are not flattery and their actions are not manipulation. They stand alone, and therefore, they stand true. And this is the greatest lesson of all. Strength is not in taking from others, but in needing nothing from them. The crowd respects the monk because he has already won the hardest battle. He has conquered the hunger for approval. That hunger is what weakens people, blinds them, and makes them dependent. To be free from it is to walk with the dignity of a king, even when you own nothing. The monk proves that the one who needs nothing from the crowd is the one the crowd cannot help but honor. The monk walks alone, yet when the crowd gathers, he does not see them as subjects to rule or followers to command. He sees them as fellow travelers on the path of life, each carrying their own burdens, each fighting their own unseen battles. He does not stand above them with pride. He stands among them with humility. And it is this humility that gives him his greatest authority. He understands a truth that the world often forgets. Leadership is not about control. It is about service. The monk does not seek to bend others to his will. He seeks to lift them, to guide them, to help them see the strength they already carry within themselves. And it is this very service, born from compassion, that makes the crowd listen. In our world today, leadership is often mistaken for domination. People believe power comes from commanding others, from being obeyed, from making others feel small. But such power is fragile. It collapses the moment fear fades or resistance grows. The monk shows a different path, a path where true leadership has nothing to do with control and everything to do with giving. He does not lead by pushing others down, but by lifting them higher. He does not impose his voice over the crowd, but rather gives them the silence in which they can hear their own truth. The paradox is striking. The less he tries to rule, the more deeply people are willing to follow. Service requires strength, because to serve is to set aside the ego. The monk has walked through fire within himself. He has faced greed, anger, pride, and conquered them. That is why he can serve without agenda. He needs nothing from the crowd, so his guidance is pure. His help is not a bargain. His words are not a manipulation. His presence is not for show. He gives without expectation, and it is this purity that makes his leadership unshakable. People feel the difference immediately, because deep down, everyone knows when someone is serving for themselves and when someone is serving from truth. The monk's service is truth, and truth has a power that cannot be denied. Think about how rare this is in our time. Leaders in society, in politics, in business, even in families, too often seek recognition, praise, and control. They measure their success by how many obey them, not by how many grow because of them. But the monk measures differently. His measure of leadership is not the number of people walking behind him, but the number of people who have found the courage to walk their own path because of him. This is leadership in its purest form, not creating followers, but creating more leaders, not binding people to dependence, but setting them free with wisdom. And it is this form of leadership that commands the deepest respect. People do not follow the monk because they are forced to, but because they want to. They do not listen because he shouts the loudest, but because they sense that every word he speaks is shaped by compassion. Every silence he holds is filled with wisdom, and every action he takes is grounded in discipline. The monk leads by example, and example is the most powerful form of leadership the world will ever know. In Buddhism, this is the heart of the teaching. The leader is not the one who stands in front demanding loyalty, but the one who kneels beside others in service. The monk knows that greatness is not measured by how high you rise above people, but by how deeply you help them rise. His life itself becomes a lesson. That authority is not about control, but about care. That respect is not commanded, but earned through service. That the one who truly serves becomes the one who truly leads. And so the monk who walks alone commands the crowd not by force, not by need, not by desire, but by the quiet, undeniable truth of his life. He has nothing, yet he gives everything. He seeks nothing, yet he inspires all. He controls no one, yet he frees many. This is why his leadership is timeless. This is why his presence commands without demanding. And this is why the monk who serves without asking for respect becomes the one whom the crowd cannot help but respect forever. The monk who walks alone yet commands the crowd is not a mystery of magic, nor a figure of chance. He is proof of what happens when a human being masters the self. His authority is not borrowed from titles or wealth, nor given by the approval of others. It is born from silence, from discipline, from detachment, from the courage to walk alone and still serve with compassion. He teaches us that respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned through the life you live. In a world where so many chase noise, applause, and validation, the monk shows us another way, that the deepest strength comes not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself. That the loudest voice is silence filled with wisdom. That the greatest power is freedom from needing anything from the crowd. And that the highest form of leadership is service. This is why he commands without force, why the crowd listens without being told, why his very presence inspires without effort. And so the question turns to us. Will we continue to chase the crowd, exhausting ourselves in pursuit of their approval? Or will we have the courage to walk our own path, build our own discipline, find strength in our silence, and learn to serve without expecting anything in return? The monk shows us that when you no longer need the world begins to listen. That is the timeless power of self-mastery. That is the true path of respect. That is the way of the one who walks alone, yet commands the crowd.